Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Madam Chiomzi, and on this channel we have honest conversations about Nigeria, relocation, lifestyle, culture shocks, diaspora realities, and navigating life both here at home and abroad. And today's conversation is a very important one because I do feel like most people romanticize relocation to Nigeria or Africa without fully understanding realities on ground. And listen carefully, this video is not to discourage anybody. I completely understand why many people want to relocate. Some people are tired of abroad. Some people are emotionally exhausted. Some people want community. Some people miss home. Some people want their children to grow up around family and culture. Some people simply want a different quality of life. And honestly, I do understand all of that. But one thing I always say is this: vacation in Nigeria is different from living in Nigeria. Those two things are completely different. Coming for Dirty December is not the same thing as living here permanently. The soft life videos online are not always full reality. There are real life responsibilities, real life expenses, real life stress. And I feel like people need more honest conversations before making such a huge life decision. So in this video, I want to honestly talk about the things that people need to genuinely consider before moving back or relocating back to Nigeria or any part of Africa. I would think this video would also apply to. Not fantasy, not aesthetics, not social media, but real life. I've been in Nigeria for about 9 months. I live in Anambra State, in Oka to be precise. And today I would like to talk about real life. I would like to talk about accommodation, electricity, transportation, healthcare, internet, school fees, security, inflation, mental adjustment, and the everyday realities that people don't always talk about. Because one thing about Nigeria is this: if you prepare properly, your experience can be beautiful. But if you come unprepared, Nigeria can humble you very quickly. So if you're considering relocating, definitely stay to the end because this conversation is very important. So the first thing I would say is don't relocate emotionally. Because one of the biggest mistakes people make is relocating emotionally instead of strategically. Some people relocate because they are frustrated abroad, some because they are lonely, some because they are burnt out, some because they miss home. And those feelings are valid. But the problem with emotions is that emotions are not enough to sustain relocation. Because you need planning, you need structure, you need savings, you need realistic expectations. Because once the excitement wears off, real life begins. Bills begin, repairs begin, unexpected expenses begin. Nigeria is not a place where you can comfortably survive without preparing. Because things are unpredictable. Prices change overnight, fuel prices can rise unexpectedly, and which affects almost everything. Electricity can disappear for days. Internet can fail during important meetings. So before relocating, ask yourself, what is my source of income? How long can my savings sustain me? What is my backup plan? Where exactly am I going to live? What happens if things don't go according to plan? So please don't relocate because you're tired of abroad. Relocate because you've planned properly. Sort out your accommodation before you arrive in Nigeria. Don't arrive in Nigeria thinking you figured things out when you are here. Because house hunting in Nigeria can be very exhausting physically, mentally, and financially. My advice would be, this is my own personal advice, you mustn't take it. If you can build or buy, but I do have my issues with buying. That's a personal thing. Why? Because I have to trust that the builder or the developer built that house is structurally sound. And no offense, Nigeria is not a place where things are they are regulated, but it's not like abroad. People are coming at different stages to check that house to make sure that the house it meets that's regulatory requirements. We don't have that here. So if you're going to buy a house, just bear that in mind. You might start having issues with the house later. Even the one you build, you're going to have issues. But for me, I feel the one that is the most scary for me is the house has to be structurally sound. And if you buy, it's already complete. You cannot tell. So that's the only issue I have with people buying house. But obviously, if you have the money, it's easier. It takes away the stress of dealing with workmen, which can be very stressful here. Anyway, but it's worse here. So you bear that in mind. Then if you're house hunting, if you're planning to rent here in Nigeria, I would advise that if you can get someone that you trust to physically inspect the place for you, someone that you trust and also knows what you want, that has the same taste with you, because what might be good for one person might not be good for you. So that knows what you need, your specification. Because houses, or apartments can look very beautiful and lovely online, but when you see them in real life, it's another thing. And you might have issues. They wouldn't show you that part though, just show you the part that looks nice. So drainage issues, things that you cannot really see from videos or pictures, when you go in the house, you start seeing them. By then you've already committed yourself financially. So bear that in mind. So what I said, my preference would be building, but it might not be possible for everybody to do that. But if you're going to rent, bear in mind that in Nigeria, you do, I think 1 year. Some people do 1 year, 2 years. I think the least you do in Nigeria is 1 year. I've never heard 6 months. That's what you pay ahead of time as your deposit. So you bear that in mind that it's a lot of money when you take into consideration that you're paying for 1 year or 2 years. And again, that's not just what you're going to pay for. You're going to pay for, they have different fees here, legal fees, agency fees, you pay service charge. So the other things around, other payments you would make. And again, I want to, this reminds me of something I did notice in the comment section about the video that I did that I talked about why myself and my husband, we chose not to buy property in certain types of estate. I don't think people do understand. Some people, I don't think they really understood what I was saying. I said certain types of estate. I didn't say don't buy in estates. Personally, for me, I do prefer estates because of security. But that video was about certain types of estates that are heavily controlled, where they want to provide everything for you. That's the issue we have. So we live in an estate. So that video wasn't that don't buy in an estate. So try and listen to or watch a video fully before you comment to understand what the person is saying. I'm not saying that don't buy your house or build a house in an estate. So personally for me, as I said, I prefer you buy because you have a bit of control too. Because rent, your landlord can wake up and just increase the rent, 50% increase, and there's nothing you can do about it. But for me, I do prefer, or rather, if you have the money, I would rather you build. Even though it's difficult because you won't be able to stay, or you might not be able to be here when they're building. But if you trust someone and you're coming and going and checking what they're doing and making sure they give you video updates, that would be that was how we did ours. But even at that, when you come back to live there, you find issues and things that you have to keep maintaining, or in fact you start maintenance even house that is new. So I know that you have snags in every house, new house or here or abroad, but Nigeria one, sometimes you find out that people don't really do their job properly. So things that can't be avoided, they just, sometimes they don't just care. People don't really care, and it's everywhere, but just bear that in mind. From my experience, there's always something that is needing attention, even though it's a new house. As you're trying to fix this one, another one is another one has an issue that you have to attend to. To me, home ownership here is it feels like a continuous project. Another thing is electricity. Electricity in Nigeria is a full-time responsibility. It's going to be a major part of your life. Every day you are going to tell that. Electricity will be one of the biggest shock if you've not lived in Africa. Let's just say this is your first time you're coming from abroad. It's going to be one of your biggest shock, because in most countries or abroad, you don't even think about electricity. It just comes on. It just works. So just get ready. In Nigeria, electricity is going to be part of your daily planning. It's as simple as that. And if you want comfort, you must invest in backup systems, because you cannot depend on the national grid. Unless you're fine with having to go days without power, then it's okay. But I know you will not be fine with it. So you have to think about solar system, generator. It just depends on what you want. Even if you go full as in solar system, you come off the grid, you want to do that. But I think you still need backup. You still need generator as a backup, because the solar can disappoint too. It's not 100% guaranteed, and some days you might not get enough sunshine, to charge the panels or to charge your battery. So you have to bear that in mind. Electricity, you have to have you have to put that as part of your budget anyway. And the electricity is going to be very, very important if you work from home or you work remotely. You have to really, really invest in that, because what you don't want is, let's say you're working or you're having a meeting, the light goes off and that's it. The internet cuts off. That's not, you wouldn't want that. You want something, you don't want to get frustrated. So electricity in Nigeria is not just a utility, it's a lifetime expense. As I said, it would be part of your daily planning. It would be. Another thing that I would also say that people should also consider, because you might not consider this, is yes, you've built your house or you've rented a place. You have to also consider the appliances. You will not stay in an empty house. So you have to consider things like your AC, fridge, freezers, your stove, microwave, oven, things like that. You have to consider your plans. Dishwasher, if you want dishwasher, it's not really, some people are fine with it, without it. Washing machine. You might not think about these things, but they're expensive. So when you're doing your budget, also include that. And that's again why I say, for me, I would prefer people build, because if you build your house, all you need to do is move those things or buy those things ahead of time before you come, install them before you come back to Nigeria. So it takes away that stress. So when you come back, you already have all of this installed, because you cannot, I don't know how to spend, avoid as much as you can to start spending heavily on these things, because they're expensive all at once. When you come, you're buying fridge, freezer, ACs for your rooms, your living room, TV. These are big expensive, and you have to bear in mind you also have to buy your furniture, bed, mattress, sofas. So you might not factor these things. So I do think that you should, if you can, try to sort these things out before you come back. But if you feel that's what I did or that's what we did, but if you feel you're fine with it, without doing that, that's my advice anyway. It's up to you. So relocation is not just I found a house or I've built a house. It's not. Setting up your house or your life properly does cost a lot. Another thing I would like to talk about is transportation. Now this is also my advice. Depending on where you live, I would advise you get a car. I don't know. I do think it's more convenient. I wouldn't say maybe it's not cheaper, but I think it's more convenient for me. I don't think I don't know how I would cope without a car. I don't know how to do it. I cannot imagine myself going on public transport every day. I can't. So what I would advise, and I think if you start using like all this boat and all, depending on where you are, where you live anyway, boat or Uber, I think it will be more expensive, to be honest. I would think it's more expensive, but the convenience of if I want to go and go somewhere, just get in my car and drive off, that's it for me. Not waiting for public transport or walking to one bus station. So, and Nigeria is so hot. You just want to try and avoid the heat as much as you can. For some people, they are fine with it. For me, it was my complexion. I know they say, no, as much as I can, I try to avoid that. The sun. What again do I have to say? Here you can, I don't think, we do have a car insurance, but I don't think those things are really, how will I put it? Will I say enforced here? But I know that in the UK you have to, it's illegal to drive without a car insurance. But just bear in mind, let me give you my story. Sometimes you might hit a car or they hit, in fact, one, that one is another story. The guy was just, people drive like mad people here, and this guy, there was a police checkpoint. I was behind the car that was, the police was attending to, or what, talking to the driver. I was right behind, and there was no space in between, like bumper to bumper. And this bus guy, or this shuttle bus, one came just by the right, wanted to, as in, angled his what do they call it? His boss. And I was so angry because at that point, that checkpoint, people don't want to stay on the queue. Everybody's coming like, you just stay. People, the next you see buses, all this short coming like cockroaches from the sides. I was so angry that day. And the guy, from the car, I was just screaming like a mad person, don't you dare, I was so angry. And he's already like cornered I was angry because there was no space for him to even do any maneuver. So I just felt it was the point of you want to intimidate me. So immediately the police guy finished with the person in front of me. I was so angry, I didn't even stop for the police guy, just boom. And my mirror hit the guy's mirror, and I didn't know this guy was. I kept driving. I didn't even know. I didn't know that my own mirror did knock his own mirror. That my own just folded, and the guy, I didn't know he was following me. So on the way, my son was telling mommy, you knocked his mirror. So I was like, did I knock his mirror? My son said yes. I was like, good for him. So I didn't know he was following me. When I got to a point where I was to leave the motorway, and I saw this bus coming out, there was this person driving like a mad person. It was him. He was trying to block me again, trying to cause an accident. I just calmed down so that I don't have an accident. He was still following me. So when I was taking my son to school. I just wanted him to keep following me till I get to the school. Drop my son, then we'll do the madness. When I came down, we got to the school, dropped my son. I told him I will not pay for I was so angry. I told him, you're wasting your time. I'm not going to pay you a dime. Because your car or your boss, you were at wrong. You were in the wrong. You wanted to intimidate me. And the guy kept, I was like, I'm not going to pay. If you like, take me, we'll go anywhere. I'm not going to pay for that. I could pay for it, but I refused to pay. Just because of, I was like, there was no space for you to maneuver. It wasn't like you're trying to do a fast move. There was no space. It was clear. He just wanted to intimidate me. What he wanted to do was, okay, I'll angle my boss. He wanted to position in such a way that if I see that I'm going to hit him, or I'll just shift my car. But that was angry. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So people came and were trying to like resolve I was like, I'm not paying. Somebody was like, oh, they'll pay for the mirror. I was telling the guy, okay, leave her, blah, blah, blah. I said, anything you like, do, I'm not going to pay. Anyway, I want us to go, we'll go, I'm not going to pay. So, but another one happened. Someone hit me. Do you know, I didn't just bother. I just kept driving. That one, I didn't even bother to stop. So now I'm distracted. The point I'm trying to say is that insurance, I don't think that it's going to be like the UK one, that they hit me, you hit me, we call the police or we get somebody, a witness, we call our insurance. The last one that happened, the guy hit my car. I did not even bother because I know nothing will come out of it. The next thing, they start begging you, madam, sorry. What will you do? So now it's not a distraction. So car is important, but also bear in mind that because of your car will keep going to the mechanic here because of bad roads. Your car will need maintenance, constant maintenance. If it's not tire, it's shock absorber, it's alignment. Things I don't even know about car. I was here still doing them because my husband is not always around. So in the UK, I don't even bother with car. Anything, my husband just sort it out. But that's another good thing. I've started learning some things that my husband not been around most times here. I'm beginning to learn things that normally I would not do. It's not my business. Car spoiled. My husband sort that one out. There's some things that I refuse to, but yeah, I've started learning them. You know, if I tell you for my gist in the UK, one time my car was stuck in the snow, and one guy wanted to help me because my car is a Beetle convertible. It's a small car, and it's not good with snow. It's not the car that you use in the snow. The guy wanted to help me, and he was asking me where he could like connect it to his own car. And I was like, I don't know. He now asked me, where's my spare tire? I said, I don't know. The guy was just looking at me. I had to call my husband, where's the spare tire? My own business is to just enter my car, drive and go. Any issue, I call my husband, that's it. So but here in Nigeria, I'm beginning to learn some things, not fully, just gradually. If it's overwhelming, I just then later go back to it. Another thing, when considering where you're going to live, if you're going to be working, you have to also check how close it is to work and school if you're coming with kids. And don't follow Google Map. Google Map can say 20 minutes or more, and it's 2 hours because depending again, places like Lagos, traffic, you have to factor in traffic. It can be hours in traffic. But lucky here in Oka, we don't really have much traffic here. So that's a good thing. Another important thing is healthcare. I would think maybe you find out about hospitals or clinics, good ones around you, just in case of emergencies. And you never can tell when it will happen. Like when I had the accident with the glass that cut my hand. Luckily for us, we have family in Oka, so my brother-in-law was the one that directed us to the hospital we go to. So these are things that you have to try to get information about before you come. Another thing that I would like to talk about is food. Food is not cheap as people think. People abroad often assume that food is extremely cheap in Nigeria. It's not. It's not cheap. Because of inflation, because of importation, it's not cheap here. So you have to bear that in mind. And again, if you're used to imported products, just get ready. Which most people that, if you're coming from the diaspora, that's what you're going to be used to. So just bear in mind that they're not cheap. So you see the series, they're not cheap. Snacks, they're not cheap. Anything that's imported is not cheap. That's the truth. Butter or cheese, they're not cheap. You're paying like ×3, and that's the truth. ×2, ×3 of the price you get it wherever you're coming from. So you have to bear that in mind. For example, I remember going to a supermarket. It was me and my husband, and it was even my husband that saw it. So because I like chocolates that have nuts in them, and I really love Ferrero Rocher. And my husband saw in the supermarket we looked at the price. You see the ones that 24 piece. You have 24 pieces in the box. The big box that, like the square boxes, the big ones that have 24. Guess how much? 53,600 naira. That was the price. That should be about 28 pounds. So, if you want to eat chocolate, good luck. So you have to think about things like this, like that. Things are going to be expensive. Or rather, imported things are expensive. Even eating out is expensive. Unless you're going to buy just normal, you buy rice, but if you want to start, you want to eat like eat what you like foreign food. Just get it, it's expensive. And if you're coming with children, it's more expensive. It's more expensive because you're an adult, you can try to like manage, but kids sometimes they just want, as I always say, they just want what they want, And even you as an adult, there's some things that's what you like me. Sorry, I cannot sell this the mayonnaise. I don't understand them. I don't want to call brands. Nigeria, every small thing they sell and sue you now. There's some brands that, most of the brands that they have in, I cannot. It has to be, I like Hellman, I can do Heinz or whatever they call it. But you see all those other ones, I'm not calling. The taste, I don't just know. My tongue cannot get used to it. My taste buds cannot get used to it. So there are things that's what you're used to and that's what you want. So when people say life in Nigeria is cheaper or food is cheaper, it depends on your lifestyle. But if you want to come here and recreate abroad in Nigeria, you see Shege Banza, your money will just be going. Another thing that I think is essential is internet. Especially if you work from home, you do business online, you homeschool, internet obviously will be very important to you. Even if you don't I like watching you need for watching YouTube or watching movies like in Netflix or Prime videos. We use MTN, and to be honest, it's good. As in, my son used to play his games, and these younger ones are the ones that will tell you whether it's really, really good for his games. It's fast. But the problem is, one day the thing will go off, and you hear somebody was cutting tree and cut one wire, and that's it. You wait for 1 or 2 days, or during the rainy season, one thing will happen, and whether it's tree fell or something, there's disruption. The thing goes off. The other day I heard there was accident. Someone was it their pole or something? So for 2 or 3 days, we didn't have any internet. So these are the things you have to bear in mind. So you need to have backups. We do have a backup. So when we see that it's we've waited and waited, most times that one we don't really. We had it initially when we built the house just to be checking the cameras and other things, but we decided not to renew it, if you get me. So when we have things like the MTN failing, we'll tend to go back to that one, just do the minimum bundle or what now. The minimum level. That's the only way I can explain it. Just so that we can keep watching things or doing what we need to do with internet. So you must have backups. That's just the summary of these things I'm saying. You must have backup if internet is important to you, like if you work or you use it for online business or homeschooling, you have to have backup for your internet. Another thing that I would like to talk about is schools. If you're coming with your children that kids that are still in school or that are still at that age, you need to really do your research properly in terms of schools. Sometimes you might not really know fully how the schools operate, even if you go there. Like the first one we went with, my son went to, we actually came to the school, but we came during the holidays, so the schools they had resumed when we went there, and we couldn't really look properly. But you might not really know what's going on in the school. I think the best way would be probably asking people that have kids in that school, if you know people. Do your research very well. Apart from school fees, some schools can be very expensive in Nigeria, especially international schools. And most times, all their schools, they say they're international, but some schools can be very expensive, especially in big cities like Lagos, Abuja, them, or some other places. But Oka here, now it depends. Expensive for some people might not be expensive for another person. But I wouldn't really consider Oka an expensive place for when it comes to school fees. That's one thing that I would say here. But I know Lagos, because we do have, and I know that you can get variety, and some can be very expensive. So you can pick the one you want for your kids. But more expensive does not necessarily mean that it's good. What I've come to, or rather is better. What I've seen from my experience is you have to really know your child and know that there's this perception that kids that come from abroad, they don't have respect and they're not disciplined, and probably maybe there's this perception they are the trouble children they bring here. It's not everybody that is bringing trouble child to Nigeria. That's something, because I remember my son, one teacher was saying, you look like someone that gives trouble. So know your child. My son don't have problem in his school in the UK. In fact, he won award as the best student. Almost every teacher, I've never gone for parents meeting and I tell your son. In fact, when I go, I know what they're going to say. Is your son is this, your son is nice. I didn't get, some parents don't like going for parents' nights. So when they talk about your child, I didn't have problem with that. So you should know your child. My son not because it's my son. The teachers. In fact, the award that he won, the head teacher was like the first time in their school that they didn't have, almost all the teachers picked one child. So that's just the only way I can explain it. So my son does not have issues with say discipline or whatever. The child is this, the child is that. If your child is having issues where you're trying to get that child to, it's a difficult child, that had issues getting into trouble or with people, or there's tendency you're seeing that maybe these ones will join gang, then that's fine. You can take them to places where they need to break them. But you cannot go and carry a child that does not. You have to know your child that does not have issues, that is sensitive, it's a respectful child. You go and say, you now be doing extra, all this, that jiggy. So know your child. So if one parent is telling that they took their child, they teach them this, they teach them that, they teach them how to, as if it's a military camp. Don't go and carry your own, that it's normal, a normal child, and go and and unnecessarily stressing the child. Because what you have to bear in mind, that relocation alone, they need is hard on the child, even you yourself, psychologically, for an adult is difficult. So they need that time to adjust. So carrying a child and you just want to come and throw them into extra, everything intense. Everybody know their child. For me, I don't have, and I know people always say, oh, children abroad are very, very unruly, blah, blah. It's not my experience. I just think it depends on the people your children hang out with. So we have to be very careful with this stereotype. I think everybody, all the children abroad, they don't have respect. They don't have respect. Respect is not that they kneel down to greet you. When your children are kind, considerate, this is what you should teaching them, kind, considerate. Behave like people that are civilized. Not outside rough, everything is rough. That's what I look at. So know your child. Don't just carry your child and that it's not used to that amount of roughness. You're not going to throw them and say you want them to learn to be disciplined, learn to be this. So that's just what I would say regarding school. I've talked too much now. Next thing I would like to talk about is about security. Security awareness in Nigeria is different. In Nigeria, you become more alert, you become more observant and more cautious. And it's not like you're living in fear, but you're just being realistic. So you need to think about the security of the area where you live, neighborhood reputation, CCTVs, gated communities where you have security. People don't just come in and go out anyhow. You need to think about these things in Nigeria. Another thing I would say, don't just go and live anywhere. Don't go and live where you stick out or you stand out, where you're the king in the how will I put it? The king in the land of the blind or what now, where everything about you stands out. Don't and obviously you're not telling. I'm not saying go and live where you're not supposed to live, as in above your means. That's not what I'm trying to say. Try and live in a place where you don't stand out. Where if you're driving, your car is better than every other person's car in your area. Or you people look, you don't go and stay in a deprived area. You cannot. It's as simple as that. Why? Because people are very desperate. People are very desperate, and if you're not careful, you become a target. It's as simple as that. So I'm not saying go and live with 1% of the 1%. That's not what I'm saying. But just bear that in mind, that you have to look at your environment, so that look at where you're staying. Don't stay in a place, and also live quietly. Don't go and be the one that making noise, or when you go to club, you want to show them you have money. Don't advertise yourself, That's what I would say. Because what you have to bear in mind is that you coming from abroad, people just assume that you have money. So bear that in mind. Another thing is the mental adjustment. Relocation it's tedious. That's the only way I can explain. It's tedious physically, mentally, emotionally, because you're trying to adjust and adapt in an environment. Even if yes, your home, like here, Nigeria is my home, but it's still difficult. So you have to bear that in mind, especially with children that have lived abroad all their life. If you're bringing them here, you've got to be very careful. You have to take it easy with them. Don't just expect that the child is going to just adapt. No. Even for you as an adult, it's going to be very difficult for you. So you might, you're going to experience frustrations, culture shock, emotional exhaustion, especially if you're dealing with, like, I know that when we came newly, we had workmen. No, it was really exhausting for me. It's the people that drain you, to be honest. We're dealing with some set of people. You'll be so frustrated and drained constantly. But now things are beginning to settle for us. So bear that in mind. That beginning part can be too much. It can be very intense that sometimes you even want to go back. but just give it time. Things start calming down. Another thing that I would like to say is that don't compare your life with your life with what you see on social media. Sorry. Don't compare your relocation journey with what you see influencers show you online. Online, you see luxury apartments, fine dining, soft life aesthetics. Don't compare your life with that so that you don't really get frustrated. Those things are not real life, and that's the truth. Because people will really show you the issues they're having, like the expenses they're making, like to repair generator, internet failures, the stresses, the daily stresses. They don't show you online. So don't go and be comparing your life and thinking, these ones are having it easy, or they're enjoying while you're the one suffering. So just bear that in mind, that people show highlights, not the full reality. So don't pressure yourself into trying to create an Instagram lifestyle. Yourself on that pressure. Just stabilize first and build gradually. That's the point I'm trying to make. Another thing I would like to say, it's, if possible, if you're not from here, or even if you're originally from Nigeria, visit first. Visit first. Don't just relocate. Don't do it. Even if you've lived abroad for a long time, if you're from Nigeria and you've lived abroad for long, don't just think, oh, Nigeria is I'm from Nigeria, I'll just come back like that. Visit first. Try and see what's going on so that you know what to expect when you come. Another thing that I would say, and I will always say, even for people that are trying to jackpot abroad, please don't go and sell all your property. Sell everything. Sell everything and say you're coming back to Nigeria. I wouldn't advise that. That's me personally. I don't advise people to sell their things like sell all your if you have more than one house, you sell everything, you don't have anything abroad, and you want to come back to Nigeria. I don't advise people doing that. Even when people are traveling abroad to the West, I don't advise it, because reason, you're not God. Anything can happen. Things change. You're not in control of everything about your life, So make room. If you need to go back, pack your bags and go. It's as simple as that. If you feel maybe you have too much abroad, your house is too big and might be too much expense keeping it, you can downsize. Even if it's one room, have it in case city, if it's Nigerian people, in case you need to go back, in case you just need to go back. So I don't believe in selling up everything and just pack your bags and move to another place. Obviously, there's a time that you might need to, when you're very, very old, you might need to, okay, this time I'm closing the chapters, I'm trying to get things. That one is different. Or if you've gone to the point where you have kids that have homes abroad and they're issued the hammer, they're fine, not the ones that don't want their parents to live with them in case you might need to go back. So then that's fine. What I'm trying to say is the same thing I always say, have options. I don't believe in you selling everything and just come. What if you come here and it doesn't work? So give room for in case, because you don't know. Anything can happen. So that would be it for today. So as I've always said, Nigeria is beautiful. There are things you enjoy here. Family, community, if it's my son will say the vibe. There are things you enjoy here, despite the challenges. Nigeria is enjoyable, but you have to be prepared. If you have to be prepared, come in. Don't just come blindly or come with assumptions. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching to this point. Thank you for all of your support. Please, if you've not subscribed to my channel, kindly do so. Like, share my videos, and click on notification bell so that you get notified anytime I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much. Bye.